Okay, it's fourth week of April, Tuesday. Wanted to do a little update on the Monte Carlo again. Just finished getting the shifter mounted in the floorboard. I also have the vintage air unit hanging in the dash with the hoses connected. The shifter is an original GM shifter Tim got from me. Also has the original handle. It's just been cleaned up and painted. Never mind the rig fix here. That'll be just a temporary thing to hold this on. Got to get a correct clip for that. The ShiftWorks kit come with the clips here down below. This is a GM shifter cable. I have it adjusted, shifting. Really straightforward installation. The GM shifter cable part number is that right there. That's what you want. GM actually still makes that cable. We've got a little more progress here under the hood. Ended up having to drill holes here to mount the air. I don't see any other way to have done it without getting exotic. Another GM piece is the throttle cable. They still make this as well. We're now working on installing the under dash mount gauges. The alternator relocation brackets are installed to flip the alternator back to what I call the correct side. GM or Chevrolet in '69 put the compressor on this side and had hoses running all the way across the engine. So these brackets with the vintage air allows you to have shorter hoses, and it's just overall a neater job. Starting to mount the some bracketry, leaving this loose for now. The wiring, rerouted the alternator wires, so that's all there. Painted here, installed the crumples on hood catch pieces. Those are very important in case of an accident. The Frost King heater duct insulation is going in. 4 to 5 rolls will probably do the entire car. The next thing in order of business is I've got the gauge cluster taken apart and assembled. The next thing to do, I've got to cut the glove box on the dash, install the dash cap piece. I'll show you that. And then, hope maybe, just maybe, toward the end of this week, this here goes on the glove box to shorten it. We may be ready to set this dash up in here. We've got to run all the hoses and all that stuff. But I'd love to see this dash going in here soon. And then we can put the steering column in. And as I work my way from the inside out, then put the brackets in the floor for the bucket seats. Not having these things in the floor was a blessing in disguise, because in here on this floor, you're constantly sitting on those studs and it does not feel good. It hurts. So keep that in mind. Don't get ahead of yourself and weld the brackets in first. Do that later. Do it kind of the last thing. So anyway, exhaust is hooked up. I need to hook the exhaust back up on the other side. A lot of detailing's been done under here. It's looking good. Everything's feeling and looking good. Jams are painted. So it's coming along. My goal is to have this car done completely, as far as what I've got to do by June, the middle of June. We'll see how it goes. There's still a lot to be done, but as far as the assembly of the vintage air and all, we're over the hump, and that's a good thing. So kind of here's the vintage air situation. There's the hoses there. Here's the where they route through. One thing I've complained, well, I hadn't complained to them, but it's a complaint of mine, is why they have 4 holes for 4 different size hoses to go through here. Same way as under the fresh air duct on the inside. I think it's stupid. It needs to be improved drastically. I also wanted to briefly show you the under dash situation, under car situation here and what that looks like. Here's the ShiftWorks piece. Here's the GM cable, the clip here, and the bracket just bolts to the 2 lower transmission pan bolts, the 2 middle ones on the side. And you have a Carter pin here that needs to be bent, but don't do any final tightening completely till you know you've got it in just tight enough to keep it from moving, basically. So that's basically the story on the shifter cable. There's my garage cat, and it's in there and it's working. So again, we'll reverse, neutral, drive, 2, 1, and back to park. So again, original parts here. Nice quality grain there. So try to use original stuff when you can. Cables and brackets and things of that nature, you know, it's always better to use the original, but most of the time that stuff's either hard to find or just missing. But shifters and consoles and seats and that kind of thing, you definitely want to use the original parts. Air conditioning, it's hard to beat this vintage air just because you'll spend so much money on the factory system making it run. You're cheaper and better just to buy the vintage air. So that's my opinion on that. Keep following me for some more parts review videos coming soon. Also, episode 3 of the Speed Theorems TV blog, podcast, whatever you want to call it, kind of just a thing me and my friend Kevin's got going on. We're going to do one again pretty soon. I think I got a good idea for this next one, and may do a little story about the auto fair and some tire kickers. So we'll talk about that at a later time. Okay, so 70 Monte Carlo update coming along. Completion goal June of this year for my part, and then completion goal for the debut September FGMCC Eastern meet.